Welcome back to the channel. This episode we're going to be working on the 350 again for more upgrades. As you can see behind me, the 350 is on the lift. Brought it to a friend's garage to make this a little bit easier because we got quite a bit of work to do under the car. So first of all, I've been having issues with my rear diff ever since the last race.
100% broke my diff.
I've taken it out of the car twice already. The first time I took it out, I found out I broke my welds on my welded diff. So got that welded back up. Kind of my fault. If you remember from the video before, I welded a plate in between all the gears, but I never actually attached the gears to the housing. So it was kind of just had a little bit of movement and just ended up shredding the metal plate in the middle of the gears. So when you weld yours, make sure you also attach your gears to your housing. So put it back in, making a funky noise, pull it back out again. This time I removed the carrier, removed the pinion, everything, cleaned everything out real good. I found some more metal in there, got everything cleaned out real good, checked all the bearings and everything like that. Everything else seemed fine. Put it back together again, still making a weird noise. So the only thing I can come up with now is that last time I pulled the diff out, the carrier had no preload on it, which it should. So I think the carrier is moving back and forth a little bit. How the preload got messed up, I don't know. I put everything back together the way it was, but we're going to pull it out, shim it up, run a pattern, blah, blah, blah. We'll get to that eventually. But the bigger task is my clutch. So as you know, I put a new internal slave cylinder in it not that long ago. I had to go with a stock one, which is made of plastic, and they suck. So it's still making a funky noise. I don't know whether I can't get the line to bleed out right, which I think is pretty common with these, or if the actual clutch is bad. But anyway, we decided to just go ahead and upgrade everything. If I'm pulling the transmission out again, I don't want to have to do it again for a while. So we got all these goodies. So basically starting here at the end, all of this is from Z-Speed Performance. Shout out to them. Everything seems to be pretty high quality. We'll obviously be putting it to the test. But first thing we got here is their flywheel, and this is a light flywheel. I think this is about 10 pounds lighter than the stock flywheel. It's also a single mass flywheel, so we're going to be getting rid of the double mass thing that's in there. OEM new flywheel bolts. Next we got their, it says stage 1.5. I could have swore this was like a stage 3, but anyway. We got their drift clutch pack, so it's basically a 6-puck clutch, pressure plate, pilot bearing, everything like that. And this should give us really good engagement, really aggressive engagement, which is what I want. New pressure plate bolts. The next thing we got is their internal slave delete kit. So this is basically going to get rid of the internal slave cylinder and make it an external slave cylinder. How all this stuff mounts up, we'll go over when we get in the video. But basically this piece goes inside, goes outside, everything connects together. Shouldn't be too hard. Last thing we got is the new Willwood Master upgrade. So this is a new master cylinder for the clutch and a new single clutch line that does not have any of the weird swirlies that are in the wheel well, and this should fit everything in here perfectly. So basically entire new clutch setup. Should be pretty sweet. Hopefully I won't have to worry about that for a season or two at least. So what I'm going to do now is I'm waiting for the engine to cool down. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rear diff out right now, hopefully. Small problem we might run into is obviously this lift is it's a little tight, a little tough to get this car on here. So we're using these braces right now that hold the rear wheels instead of the traditional stick it underneath the arm somewhere underneath. So hopefully it'll work out, but we're not going to be able to move the rear wheels to get the axle bolts or the drive shaft bolts out. So hopefully we can reach around and get them all out. Yeah, but we'll go from there. I also didn't bring my tripod, so Probably not going to have great angles on this. Sorry. It's wild how much quicker things go when you have the right tools and equipment. But it's taken me about 2 hours to get the transmission and the diff out. I started at about 10. It's 12:20 now. So overall, not too bad. Again, we'll go over how to install everything from the internal slave cylinder elimination kit, but here's the one I put in, which obviously is still in good condition. We'll probably keep this and maybe resell or something of the sorts, or just keep it as backup, or for one of my friends if they need it or something. But anyway, there's the internal. It's an OEM Nissan internal. That new stuff's gonna bolt in there. We'll get to that soon. Got the diff yanked out, got the transmission yanked out. And I mean, this clutch definitely looks like it's seen some better days. Kind of hard for you guys to tell because I don't have my light in here, but yeah, definitely not great. But I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of that off, the clutch off, and then I'll check back in with you guys when we start installing the new stuff on the transmission. All right, so here's the old clutch. Definitely still pretty good material, but you can see if it'll pick it up on camera. Pressure plate's definitely got some hot spots. Plus, like I said, I'm pretty sure this is the original clutch. Here's the flywheel. Again, hot spots, not terrible. So first thing we're going to do is go ahead and put the flywheel back on. So there's one thing that 350Z specific, or I guess VQ engine specific, that is really important when you're putting your flywheel on. And what happens is let me grab my phone so I can show you guys with the light. The crankshaft sensor actually reads off the flywheel. So if you look on the back of this flywheel, you'll see there's these little teeth. So those teeth are basically the trigger wheel for the crank sensor, and the crank sensor is right there. Right there. So we need to make sure that the flywheel goes back on in the right spot. And the way they do that is with an alignment pin. So when I took this flywheel off, I took note. And if you look right here, there's a hole in between these two screws. Now, if you look at these other spots, you'll notice there is some other holes. This one is specific. This is the one that we need to line up. Or let me rephrase that. That is the one that lined up with that dowel pin right there in the middle. So we need to make sure that the flywheel goes back on in the same spot. Now, lucky for us, the new flywheel that we have basically only has one way it's going to go on. So if you look here in the middle, we'll flip it over. So it's got the same kind of teeth around the outside, but if you look here in the middle, there is no other holes because it's single mass. So this has to go right there. And I already verified that this hole and that one on the old flywheel, when you line those up, the teeth pattern is exactly the same. So that's what we want to do. So basically we're just going to put this flywheel on, line it up with that dowel pin that's in the flange from the back of the motor, and get that taken care of. I got new flywheel bolts, which we're going to clean off. We're going to put red thread locker on, and we're going to tighten them down to spec. The other thing we're going to do actually before we put that on is we're going to go ahead and get the old pilot bushing out and put the new one in. So these are brass, I believe. So should come out pretty easy. I know we have a puller here, so I might try to use that, or basically you can just kind of pry it out with a screwdriver because it shouldn't be that tough. So I'm going to go ahead and get those taken care of and get the flywheel on, and then we'll go from there with the clutch. All right, guys, got the flywheel all installed. I did put a generous amount of red Loctite on the flywheel bolts and torque them down to 65 foot-pounds. And now we're going to go ahead and stick the actual clutch disc in. So there's our new clutch disc all ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and get the disc put on, and then basically it's just flip it over and bolt it on, and I'll show you when I'm all done. All right, I'm going to switch to filming with my phone because it's just easier. But anyway, take that off. So I got this all cleaned up. I got the old slave out, and the first thing we need to do is we need to mount this piece, which just mounts right on where the concentric slave cylinder went, and you can see it's kind of recessed in here. So you just need to make sure that you get all this lined up right, and then when you put your screws in, you just want to make sure that it's centered on the, the input shaft here. So we're going to get that put on. And then the next piece that goes on is this guy. And this is basically our new clutch fork. So that'll go in through here like that and kind of just bolt onto some of these bolts here like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those two mounted up. All right, guys, so I got the clutch eliminator stuff inside the clutch mounted. Let's go ahead and take a look. So basically we got that plate mounted back here like we talked about. Throw out bearing on the fork, and then you can see there's the 5 bolts that we removed and how this bolts on. And you can see it operates nice and clean. Got it all greased up and everything like that. And yeah, shouldn't have any issues. So here's the fork sticking out right where, the old lines used to come out at. So that's about it for everything that gets installed while the transmission's out. So the next goal is to put this thing back in there, which I'm here by myself, so it's fun.